All right, welcome back, guys. If I were actually a video editor, I would edit that out as like a blooper and then put the actual hello everyone without any stuttering. But hey, you get what you get. So, all right, this is game five of the Canton tournament I attended last weekend, and I'm playing Sary Karanofsky. Um, Another clubmate of mine. Similar strength to Barbara, who I just played, maybe slightly better, just in terms of results. And also a lot harder for me to play than Barbara. For some reason, I am very good at just always beating Barbara at club, but Sari I have so much trouble with for some reason. So she does very well against me, and it's actually the opposite for Jason Lee, who's the other person at my Scrabble club at the local Montreal Scrabble club, who were similarly strong at the game. Jason struggles to beat Barbara a lot, which I never understood. But anywho, this game I knew was, well, I expected was going to be tougher than the last game against Barbara, and I had just won by 300 points, so I was, yeah, I was definitely expecting not the game not to be as easy, of course, just because of that. But I went first, and I had a great opening play of Hertz. Um, there's always a pun when someone plays Hertz because it's usually a very high score. You can always use this pun, and you don't need to credit me, or I'm probably not the person that came up with it, but someone's always just like, "Oh, that hurts" or something like that. Anyways, moving on. Sari plays Auk for 19, and normally I find that Sari plays defensively, doesn't open things unnecessarily, but with the letters of Auk, um, I didn't immediately see anything else she could have really done with AUK or with UK and some potential other letters. So I did not necessarily infer she had an S from this play. And I might have done better to infer that she had an S. Right, my leave was here. Um, yeah, okay. Sorry about I guess I can show you guys the score sheet too. I forgot to do that in the last few episodes. If you don't want any spoilers, look away. But this is the score sheet here. Da, 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 da. Okay. So I'm not really sure if that's like something that I should keep doing. If that's like a gimmick of mine. Anywho, I also wanted to mention another thing. That the last game there was a phony in it, and every other game except game three had a phony in it. Um, and so, if you guys want to predict whether there's going to be a phony this game or not, you can say so in the comment section if you'd like, or just in your heads for a fun little game. Anyways, I had this rack and didn't see any bingos. It seemed good, but it seemed to just not work. And indeed, no bingos exist here. Um, and I can play Nod or I could play Dole. I can also play OD here. I didn't actually see OD here. But I had an S and I was like, oh, this is nice and this is nice. Like Zaz exist, Ox exist. They're unlikely to both be blocked at the same time. So the question was, do I take the scoring spot here? I'm up 35 points. If I play Lodens, I'm up 67 points. Already almost a bingo lead. And I definitely considered this, but I decided that my chances of winning might be higher if I just immediately bingoed um, next turn. So I think what I did wrong here is I put down DOL at G7. I was ready to play that and realized it made LE, and then switched it to DOL here on this side, which is not really as good because if she does have an S and takes the Ox spot, I no longer have the Zaz spot for bingo, and I do have bingos that end in S, of course, and DOL sets up a potential lane at J2. Let's just put the play on the board so you can visualize that. better, but the score is not going to be comparable. So I'm actually like shooting myself in the foot if she does indeed have an S and uses the aux spot. So I actually don't think this is the right play. I don't like any of the plays keeping EL and ST because those depend on me drawing um, one vowel out of two letters most of the time. Otherwise, I'm not bingoing. So I don't like to make that sort of play, even though the numbers might reflect it being a good play. I don't like running that risk of drawing two consonants and not really having anything to do other than drop two or three consonants next turn. But yeah, playing something like nod scores two more points, and the leave is very similar, ELST versus ENST. And normally in a vacuum, ENST is, I think, a point or two better than ELST, but the fact that there are more N's than L's in the bag slightly tilts the scales in favor of LEST um, being a comparable leave because the risk of duplication is lesser. There are only three L's left for five N's. It's a very small factor because you're only drawing into three tiles, but it is a factor nonetheless. A few percentage points more likelihood of drawing a duplicate letter, which is not what you want. So I think, yeah, if I wanted to take the route of um, if I wanted to take the route of playing and leaving these S hooks open, I should have played Nod, I think on the left side, because that leaves Zaz open as well. But instead I played Dole. I don't think it's right. I'll say questionable. Uh, could play Lodens, 15D, or Nod on either side. I like G7 Nod best. Anyways, I play Dole. I think I really do think that making this play arose mostly from thinking that LE fit on the other side and then switching it because I'd already shown Sary I had an L. But it's really not a big deal if I take the L off and put an N. She's not going to be able to do anything about that knowledge really 99% of the time. So anyways, I play Dole and immediately get uh, completely destroyed by Promise for 97. And my eyes lit up here. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a game, isn't it? Because I had then drawn um, into AYU and did not see a bingo. Unfortunately, A Hertz isn't a word, so unsteady isn't going to fit. But I can play Tusky. That's not something I saw. Wow, that's a great idea. So I was looking at plays like KYE, um, AYYA, AYE. Yeah, all these plays I saw, I did not see spanning across both with Tusky. Um, so I took a while on this turn because I wondered how valuable it was to leave this lane open. Like maybe I can draw into Kylan's for like 60 points, um, or something else, but it didn't seem very likely that I was going to draw into a play here. So I decided to play YA, which actually does have the best valuation despite scoring 14 points fewer. Um, but I think Tusky is probably a bit better because now the S hooks will be gone. No promises, promisee, promised, whatever. The S hooks are gone. Zaz hook doesn't really matter so much. SHO doesn't really matter so much. So the S has less value than usual. There's no reason to play AY. Um, maybe take a couple more points for AYE as possible. Um, but yeah, I like Tusky here, especially given that scoring against lower rated opponents is a good strategy rather than trying to binger yourself because you're opening yourself up to not getting the right tiles and not scoring enough points to score more than your opponent, which is how you win the game. So scoring points and not leaving as much up to chance is probably a good strategy. It's just a question of how much you're willing to sacrifice when you think that if I think that YA is just a better play because of the overwhelming amount of time that I bingo 54% of the time, I have to weigh that with how much I want to adjust my play based on who I'm playing. And given that I was down 50 points, It's as if it's not really as if I'm playing somebody rated 600 points lower than me. It's really as if I'm playing um, somebody who's at my level, and the score is tied. It's something like that. You have to like sort of give your opponent a buffer of how much you usually beat them by, and if they're ahead 50, then yeah, it's not it's not the same thing. So I decided to play Ya. Um, Tusky might be better. I don't think it is. I mean, Quackle's saying no, not at all. So Ya comes down. Um, I've changed my mind. Basically, I thought Tusky was the play, but it's just because I try to adjust when I miss a play. I like to try and be as unbiased as possible about said play, but sometimes that leads me the wrong direction. Oftentimes, when people miss a play and they're annotating a game, they'll be like, "Oh, I missed this, but my play's still better," and they have like this confirmation bias of having made the play they made. Um, Whereas it's important to realize when you've missed a play, you might be biased in favor of your own play. So I try to devil's advocate and bias myself in favor of the play I missed. Um, Anyways, point being, I think yeah, it was fine. Um, so New York tuxes is my rack. If you want to buy a tuxedo, uh, link. No, never mind. I'm not sponsored by anything. Tuxes New York isn't even a real thing. That was just my rack. So I played tuxes for oh yeah, I can't play this. Yeah, I saw tuxes here. I was like, oh, HOS isn't a word anymore. Um, I played tuxes for 30. This is a really weird position. I actually end up having to get rid of my S. Um, I thought, but maybe I can keep the X. I don't know. I can maybe play Kai. That's pretty ugly. But I thought I pretty much had to get rid of my S here and play tuxes and have a much more workable set of tiles next move. But perhaps I also saw Yen's for 34 and wondered if that was any good. Um, and yeah, Kai just didn't seem right, keeping four consonants in a U. And kite seems even worse because it just opens up this huge spot. Um, yeah, I really wasn't sure here, and actually Tuxes doesn't do very well. Let's actually bring up the right simulation results here. There you go. That's a little key to using Quackle that I learned pretty recently. Sometimes when you run a simulation, it'll have the wrong, like the BOGO win stuff that you were just seeing is much harder to parse through than these actual details. So to fix that, all you need to do is click back to a previous move and click back into the move you were at. Everything will still be there. The simulation will still have run, and then it'll have the right details box up for you. Um, so if you need to replay that to see what I did, go right ahead. Um, but yeah, I guess the recursive value of playing Kai, um, maybe playing Tux next seems okay. Um, yeah, not a huge fan. Not a huge fan of this idea, but keeping the S is very, very good here. So yeah, maybe this was a mistake. I think maybe Yen's. Yeah, maybe Yen's. Oops, doing the notation wrong. Yeah. Yeah, this is surprising to me. It's such a I didn't like making this play, but I thought it was correct. Um, let's call this a strategy medium. Um, and Sary plays bouncer here for 68 with the second blank. She had bicorn for a bit more that I just gave her, but bouncer for 68 comes down, and I'm down 74 points. Luckily, I had NY and I drew EVIAL. And I saw naively didn't fit anywhere, but then she gave me this B and gave me a spot for enviably, which I would have had through the triple as well after bicorn for even more than 86. But enviably comes down. That was really a stroke of luck there that I was able to bingo. Um, Sary then plays Roke for 28, and my draw is kind of awkward, but Win scored 33, and it looked like keeping the F and the G together was a lot better than keeping the W and the G together, especially since WOG is no longer valid. And yeah, this is reflected by the valuation. Same score, only switching an F off for a W. That's a 4.6 point valuation difference. So yeah, definitely seem to have made the right decision on playing Win. Sary plays Aji, very nice find there. So that's a three-letter word that's very hard to spot, especially since it's a new word. It takes a really long time to get used to it being available as a play so often when you have the J. It really, really increased the value of the J, by the way, this three-letter word. Probably increased the value of the J by like almost a full point. I don't know, that might not mean much to people, but it's a big deal. So here, a bit more awkward stuff, but I think I can finally like leave pretty well here. What's the word that chess players use? Consolidate. I saw also that I could play fleas here for 33, but that didn't seem worth it. So I only considered FOO, fleas. I didn't consider OF and fog. And obviously I played fog because the G, we all know, is terrible. The issue with fog is that it blocks my lane. This L column is pretty useful to me because I have one of the last two S's. DITE is also a word, DITS. So I didn't like that, but I also got bingoed on twice already by Sary in the first few moves, and it's nice to equalize the game and sort of block up the board and try to just out strategize and hopefully if neither of us bingos I can win. Obviously this one column is a problem for the rest of the game until somebody plays here. It does look like this triple should get used, but it's actually pretty hard to reach. You are most likely going to see a play from H1 come down rather than a play from 1H or from 1I, spanning all the way to the O. But yeah, fog seems fine. Get rid of the G. What else is new? Sary plays pun here, resetting up a lane for an S. I'm like, man, Sary's just playing really well, playing really aggressively. I was very happy that I had an S here. But I had, oops, I had this rack here and didn't see any 8-letter words or 7-letter words, and indeed there are none. I guess I should have played Koi. I decided to play Fido here, very aggressive as well, to try and set up my own S. But I think that's pretty bad. Like, what if she has the S? If she has the last S and she can score well, that's not very good for me. So I think playing Koi makes a lot more sense. I was just worried about, I think, L1 plays scoring a lot of points and blocking the bingo lane next turn. So I decided to take matters in my own hands. If she doesn't have an S, this is really good for me. But if she does, it's pretty bad for me. So yeah, very interesting double-edged position. I also saw that I could draw stuff to this R to this T if indeed this gets blocked. So maybe that was good reasoning, but I didn't consider KOI for 13, which seems very very fine, very okay to make that play. Yeah. I guess if I play Koi, she plays at L1 for 30 something, and then I play to the R or something. I'm not even really going to be ahead. So yeah, maybe Fido is fine. Which I failed to consider. Yeah, there's some dynamics going on if she's able to keep scoring. And I'm just bingoing for 65 points, and then she keeps scoring and I don't draw super well, I could still lose. So Fido, I guess, yeah, Fido pushes the envelope a bit further than Koi would. Sary actually lots to block. She didn't have an S it appears, and luckily, even though she did block. Wait, did she? What did she blocked? Did she block anything? I don't even remember. Um, can I find a seven-letter word here? Um, see if my bot isn't working. Yeah, it should pop up in a second there. But Nettie's, no, yeah, I remember now. She blocked Noisette and Teosinte with this play, but I still had bingos here. So I ended up playing Nettiest. I actually want to simulate this position to see which play sims best. Because this is a really useful position to simulate because her hack is pretty random, and the question is, what letter do you put in the A column? Do you put the T or do you put the N, which is more dangerous? In setter, I'm putting in there because it also seems not so dangerous, not so bad. To put the I there instead. So I'm gonna let this simmer a little bit. But yeah, in this position, I didn't really feel super comfortable. I've been playing from behind all game, and I was going to take a 47-point lead, but Sary could easily hit me back for 40, 50 points. So it did seem like it was going to be pretty close in the end. So I played Nettiest. It does seem like things are very, very close. Opponent next turn scores maybe a tiny bit more after Tentiest, and Bingo's a little bit more as well. How does that make sense? Oh, because Bingo's ending in T are available now. Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, Bingo's ending in T are available with Tentiest, or Bingo's with the T in, yeah, T in 7th are already available. So yeah, that's a very little detail that is important to think about, I would say, in this position. So Nettiest comes down. Sary plays Anvils, scoring 39 points, and almost tying the game up. And I have this rack, and I play Hog for 31. I didn't really know if there was anything better here. There's actually a lot to think about. I can play Gleed. I was very well aware, which you also should be aware in your games, of how many letters are left in the bag. Because when it starts to get down to the number 15 or under, you're going to start to want to potentially adjust your plays to fit the idea of trying to go out before your opponent. So I'm already thinking about tempo here. I realize that if I play 3 tiles, there'll be 8 in the bag, which makes it pretty likely that I'll be able to um, force Sary to be the one to empty the bag, unless she plays 5 or 6 tiles next turn, which is not as likely as 4 or 3. So yeah, potentially playing 2 tiles is even better in this situation, and maybe blocking these T's. I would say, favored in this position for sure. I'm up 8. It's my turn. I have some decent letters, decent scoring tiles. Um, but yeah, I'm very curious about all these other plays. Not Hod for sure. Like for sure, I'm getting rid of the G instead of the D. Um, but yeah, Gleed seems pretty good. The H is a very, very useful tile in the pre-end game. It scores very, very well. It gets you out of consonant trouble, gets you out of vowel trouble. It's just a very dynamic letter to have in the pre-end game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gleed does very well in the simulation. It already is. Fodgel, I didn't see. It's definitely a play I should consider. That leaves 6 in the bag. So it would allow Sary probably to force me to empty the bag if she plays 3 tiles or 4 tiles. I'm going to be sort of stuck. So I don't think Fodgel is right as a result of that, although it does keep the A and the H. Keda is interesting as well. although that sort of opens this triple. There are no S's left, so this is not actually a concern. It opens this triple, overlaps here, and leaves the G. So that's probably why it's not doing so well in the sim, because it leaves the G most of all. Aha is probably worse than O, just because with O you're keeping an A. It's just better than the O, especially with the G. And yeah, then it's just these plays. So yeah, maybe Gleed is correct. I don't really know. Has the benefit of leaving H scoring plays next turn. Hog has the benefit of bingoing sometimes. 22% versus 6%. OH obviously bingos the most. It's a very fishy play. You can bingo through this T, you can bingo through this E. And I was sort of worried about bingos because there are some good letters left unseen. So I was considering potentially playing through one of these T's. But I decided the game was too close for me to really be concerned about a bingo because a bingo isn't super, super likely. Um, and even if it says 10% or 16% chance of a bingo, I am also blocking this lane. This lane is important as well. It's the only sevens lane on the board with Hog, so it does address bingo concerns as well. So does Gleed. It also blocks. So I think playing up top probably makes the most sense because I can potentially outrun a bingo up 40 points. It's possible. If she bingos through this E for 60, I can potentially score 40 more points and things could be okay. But the main issue, I guess, is by playing three letters, if I'm really concerned about bingos, that means if she bingos immediately, there's going to be one tile left in the bag after her bingo, which is pretty good. A pretty good scenario for her being up however many points her bingo puts her up. Anyways, all that being said, H1 Gleed is also a play. I think I wanted to make it more easy on myself by keeping ADEL and potentially bingoing next turn. They seem close. Oops. All right, Hog comes down, and Sary immediately puts down ERMIC. And when I saw this play, I was like, wait a minute. This is a really good play for her. Is this a word? Is Fermi a word? And a Fermi is a 5-letter word that I need to know. But it'd been a while since I had seen the word, and I think under a little bit of time pressure, and I just was not sure if Fermi was a word. And I knew that if I challenged incorrectly here, I was very likely to lose the game. And if I didn't challenge, I was pretty likely to win it. But this was a really good move by Sary. It's indeed not a word. I think it's proper or something. But I did not challenge because I couldn't remember if Fermi was a word. If I could remember that Fermi was a word, I could be very confident that Fermi didn't take a C hook. And then I would have challenged this off the board. But kudos to Sary for getting a phony buy. This ties the game up and leaves 3 in the bag. Um, and yeah, I was not sure if I was going to win anymore. Um, but the letters left didn't seem super good. Um, and I saw that she was threatening to potentially play um, some await like play, like scoring a lot of points with the W in this position. So I definitely wanted to block. Um, so I did see old for 18, and I saw that it scored one more than door, but I was way, way more concerned with her playing await next turn. I do want to leave one in the bag here, not necessarily because I want to, but sort of because I have to. It's not necessarily a great thing to do in this position because if she plays 4 or 5 letters off, she's pretty likely to be able to go out on the next turn. So leaving one in the bag in these scenarios isn't like this golden ticket to winning a game. If the opponent plays their cards right, it's actually pretty easy for them to figure out what to do. It's just that her play was so good, and so yeah, as a result, I just like, okay, well, let me take a small lead here. Unseen letters aren't so good. Hopefully, I can survive. So I played Door to block 08, because 08 was just going to score way too much. I knew that she could play here, like with the B, but I really wasn't concerned about that. So I played Door, and then she plays Abba, um, and I had this rack. Um, no, I had this rack, and so when I drew my letters, when I drew two consonants, I was very very happy. I pretty much knew that this guaranteed me a win, um, because now she has EEIIN and she just has nothing left to do. Um, and this is the end game. So, oh, Niall. Oh, that's probably the best play. I didn't see that. Um, I ended up just going with the first move that I saw that won. Um, just AW, but yeah, Niall is 1 point better. Yeah, I saw that I had Dental and Tend next turn, and if she blocked that, I had many ways to score, and maintain my lead here. I saw it was very difficult to block. She'd have to play Tenny, then she wouldn't even be going out next turn. Um, so yeah, this despite only leaving myself with one out, which is I think true. Latent is the only thing through the E. Let's see if she plays Tenny or Tenne. Or sorry, Tenny isn't even a word. Oops. Only good with the S. Yeah, I could just play Dental through that, but I don't have any outs. So Nile is 1 point better. Should have seen that. That's pretty simple. But I saw that drawing the W was crucial here. Um, and I drew it, and I survived this game. Sary knew she was lost, and she played Inti. Um, one spot to the left would have been a bit better. Um, and I go out with Dental, and I win by 30. But this was a really, really close one. The closest game I've had, I think, so far. And Sary really, really played well, and she made a very good play of Firmic. This is a really good position to phony, and if you're not 100% sure of this sort of word, it's very hard, very, very hard to pull the trigger and challenge. So well done to Sary. I'm sure she wasn't sure if it was a word either, but knew that it was a good attempt. Luckily, I drew the right stuff in the end and had just enough to win. And yeah, 447 to 417. And for those of you that predicted a phony, we had a phony. There have been phonies in like every game except one so far. So looking forward to seeing you guys on the next game, and whether there's going to be a phony or not. All right, bye bye.